Hello and welcome to askLRR, the vidcast where you ask and we lure. The we and lure being Serge, Alex, and myself this month. If you are wondering how you can ask a question in askLRR, it's YouTube memberships. Your support on YouTube by becoming a member of our channel allows us to make this podcast and allows you to ask us these questions. And also, if you are into supporting us, and thank you very much, we really appreciate it, you can also support us on patreon.com. Patreon.com. It's a place where you give us money basically on spec to be weird, and then we use that money to do things like, I don't know, pay our insurance.
Are we doing spec work?
Probably.
It's a sort of like, I don't know, what do you think is funny? And we're like, how about these weird assortments of things?
Good first question. Is this spec work?
Yeah. The answer is don't work on spec.
Yes. Don't work on spec. Don't work for free unless
Never work for free.
Unless you know you're working for free and have something that you know.
Right,
for
right.
Exposure
yeah.
doesn't count.
Yeah, don't ask people to work for free. Even just be like, I have basically no money and I can, pay you an embarrassingly low amount, or I can,
Let me give you a beer.
Yeah, like something. I can take you out for dinner, bake you some cookies.
I value your time.
Exactly. Don't ask people to work for free. Do something for them, because your time is valuable and others' time is valuable. These are unsolicited questions.
I know, we should probably answer theirs.
We're freelancing it. All right. Our first question of the day is: if you had time, what new hobby would you like to start? And that was Drummy who asked that. Mm-hmm. I think I'd like to start an advice podcast because we're already freelancing that already.
So the problem is every time I look at this question, I ask myself, what hobby would I wish I had picked up when I was a kid? And you're like, I could be like a double black belt right now, but that's not the question that this is, right? I don't get to pull the politician move or I'm going to answer the question I wish you asked. Honestly, if I had the time, I would love to learn another language.
Ooh,
every time I travel, I come back and I'm like, I should be fluent in Thai. You're like, when would that ever be useless or useful? You're like, don't even worry about it.
Are the languages hobbies, though?
That's fair. That's a very good way to put that. And don't try and necessarily fetishize.
Sorry to kick the leg out of your stool.
No. But that's an interesting way to put it, because I think of a hobby as, if I have extra time, what are the hours I would like to spend doing something? And I think studying in that case works if you look at it as a scholarly pursuit, not necessarily a notch in my belt or some sort of weird way to look at it.
Yeah.
No, I definitely see what you mean, because it's technically speaking, I do atomic history research as a hobby.
Yeah.
Very casually, and I don't monetize
You're our local Chernobyl expert.
Yeah.
Among other things. I think, as far as hobbies are concerned, most of the stuff that I have a sort of yen to start on, I just do anyways. But
nice.
The latest thing that I've been doing is looking up model steam engines, which is a deep rabbit hole that I'm like, maybe. It's just this could be very, very expensive, and also because it's like a British man's retirement kind of hobby.
Right.
It's I've got £400,000, nothing to do.
A bunch of rail in my backyard.
I'll make a steam engine.
Yeah, this strikes me as a deeply anorak-based hobby.
It's super anorak, but it's kind of cool. I mean, maybe it dovetails with all the other fabrication stuff I'm doing, but it's one that I'm just
miniature steam engins?
Oh, that's what I mean.
Oh, okay.
Not full. Holy!
I thought actual trains. That's what I thought.
That's if you're a millionaire. No,
Yeah.
but model size ones, little. Yeah. So maybe.
But they actually make steam.
Yeah.
You get a tiny nugget of coal.
Oh wow! You have a little shovel.
I've seen videos where they
that's
have
adorable.
the tiny little shovel and they're just put the coal in. It's so cute.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
It's very charming.
I have another joke answer too. If I had more time, it'd be great to play Magic again.
I'm just Arena's coming to Mac. I am effed. Arena's coming to Mac. I am so screwed. Like, seriously, I'm very... Like, because the thing is, I could play Arena. I could play on Graham's computer. I don't want to use his computer.
That's fair.
Like, that's his computer. That's weird. Like, I'd have to be like, you can't sit at your desk and do work, possibly. Or usually, you... Stop playing Arena so I can play Arena. That's also not fair, right? It's coming to Mac.
Wow.
Part of the reason I have a Mac, though, is so I don't waste my time playing video games. Because there's less games on Mac, and because I use my computer for writing and work.
That's really funny.
Well, if I could start a hobby, I think I would take up gardening.
Oh.
I would just like to do strong work with my body.
Now, flower gardening or edible gardening? Like, would you make it so that you could have your own vegetables and herbs and such?
That seems like a lot of work. I think honestly, both of those
It's legal.
True. I think anything where you expect any kind of yield, legal or recently legalized, I feel like that seems like a big commitment. I think I would just like to be like, what can I keep alive? Right? Let's just start very low.
A garden of succulents.
Well, but like every plant requires upkeep and maintenance and care and attention, and like weather impacts them and stuff like that. And so, and just like watering and tilling the soil, and maybe like putting in like a small garden plot, and then working your way up from there.
I actually think I'm with you on gardening. It's something that I've had like just the gentlest little like dabbling in. I have a teeny cactus and a little succulent that looks like a bunch of Shrek ears, and I've been keeping those for a while. I also one day decided that I was sick and tired of buying scallions and having them wilt, so I potted them, and then I went infinite.
Smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have like 20 houseplants, so I feel like I've honed my skills enough to move outside. That's where I want to go. So that was a big question. Paul, what's our next one? Ooh. What is one positive experience that you experienced because of LRR that will always stay with you? Asked by Werner Van Verst.
Van Verst.
What do you think, Alex?
Does Desert Bus count? I feel like that's separate.
So. Well, okay, but because of LRR, it started because we had access to all of this stuff.
I mean, if that's the case, then that's an easy answer. Like, this is weird and... Okay, so Desert Bus is the source of some of my very best and very worst experiences. It works out positive, and all those bad experiences are no fault of the event at all. It just was like congruent with the event happening, so that's unfortunate. But it's overall better than worse. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to pick one. I mean, hitting like... Was it 2 million lifetime during Desert Bus 8? That was pretty hella.
I'm going to go with the cop-out answer and just say, my good friends.
Aww.
Because honestly, we are in a very interesting work situation where my coworkers are also some of the best friends I have in town, and that's very cool.
It's very
special.
peculiar, isn't it?
It makes it weird sometimes because there's things that it's like, well, as a coworker, I can't say things because we're friends, and as friends, there's some things I can't say as coworkers, but we make it work.
Yeah.
Do you want to hang out after work? Fuck no.
I just spent 8 hours with you. I like you, but
yeah.
Here's the thing, though. I'm always up for hangouts after work.
Yeah,
it's like Serge is like, who wants to go for nachos? If like we were like wrapping an episode of Dice Friends, but I'm like, I want to hang out with you.
I know.
It's like I don't know. I feel like we have a big extended family. For somebody who doesn't have a lot of dealings with her family, like it's really nice. But I'm going to say, for my answer, the most positive thing is that it is really great. It is extremely personally fulfilling to make things happen, like that you want to see happen and have people react well to it. But it is even more fulfilling to know that you are working hard to help somebody else achieve a dream. And I have been deep in RoadQuest crunch because I'm doing the sound pass, which is actually not the most time consuming step. I do want to say the most time consuming step is definitely the audio, like the editing and getting the actual storyline together and cutting down hundreds of hours of footage. But the sound pass is just very intense. But to know that I am helping Graham bring a vision he has had rolling around in his head for years, like a long dream of his, and get that to a spot where it has been brought to life.
I almost want to
It's
change
so-
my answer to just Road Quest.
Yeah.
That was such a good road trip. Like, we can't talk too much about it yet because it's all spoilers, but it's like, it was so fun.
You remember the time we did the redacted?
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
with the twigs.
Oh,
Yeah. But I just feel like the most positive thing I can do is helping my friends do the things that they want to do with my skills. And it was all very wholesome. Before we get to too many feelings, what's our next question, Paul? Ooh. For Kathleen, I've been watching LRR Content since season 1. You've always been a role model to me as a confident and outspoken woman. Have you always been so confident? Where does it come from? Paige Duchance. Duchance? I don't know. The answer? Absolutely not. I'm actually not a very confident person, but I am a firm believer in fake it till you make it.
but I play one on TV.
Well, here's the deal. When I was in high school, for some reason, when I was in high school, I ended up moving to Prince George, and I went to my first day of class, and everybody was like super nice to me, and it was fine because I was like a new kid and I arrived partway through. And then my second day, a bunch of girls decided that they didn't like me, and they just decided I don't know. I guess I was annoying, like whatever. Or maybe they just decided to be mean to me, and they just like started picking on me and were super rude and were always threatening to beat me up, and it was awful. And then one day, like 2 years later, I was like, you know what? F these girls. And they were like, and they came up to me in the hall, and I was like, I was like shaking probably on the outside, but definitely on the inside. And I was like, I don't give a shit about what you say. I don't care. Go away. Leave me alone. And when they realized they had no more, like they couldn't scare me, and I had my own group of friends, right? Like it's not like they were more popular than me. We were just in like different kind of friend groups. I hung out with like the weird arty kids. They were like definitely the more normal girls, right? Who just like were into other things. I don't know what they were into because we weren't friends. Maybe we had common interests. And I just but when they realized they couldn't like intimidate me anymore, I was like, yes, confidence, pretend you have confidence, and people will screw with you less. And it's worked very well for me.
Your experience is a lot like the sort of working definition that I've arrived at for courage, because what is confidence if not a form of courage? And I think a lot of people get the impression that like to have confidence or courage is just like, you do not experience fear, or you are just completely assured that the thing is going to work. It's like, I don't think that's actually the case.
No.
Having gone through it, it's you feel terrified and you do it anyway. You like, and it's weird saying that it's fake because it's also kind of real. Because you're actually doing it.
It takes courage to do something if you're scared.
You're just like, I am pissing my pants right now, but this is important enough to me that I'm going to do it anyway.
I will like the memory of doing this when I it will be forever. Like I could paint this scene for you.
Yeah.
Like I have a photo perfect memory of this scene, and I still remember what it was like and how scared I was in that moment. But I was like,
You know what? It's practice in tolerating the distress. I think you don't not feel it. You're just like, time to do the thing I want to do because it's important enough to like override my my fear about it. And it is a cultivated thing. And you need to like work on it. But
alternately, time to just not this thing I want to do, but this thing I must do.
Yeah, that too.
I must do this thing. So that's fake it till you make it. That's the Alex and Kathleen patented advice.
Which we stole from somebody else, probably.
Yeah, definitely. What's our next question, Paul? What is the most annoying part of the latest moonbase?
Bathroom bees.
That's a good answer. That's a really good answer.
Yeah, it is like, just me and my alone time in this. What's that noise? Oh, God.
Why is there... Now, to be fair to the bees, they were bumblebees. They were harmless and friendly, fuzzy friends.
Harmless.
Bumblebees can't sting you.
Really?
Yeah,
I
they
thought
are
they
harmless.
could sting you, but they
No.
are just less threatening.
They can fuzz you.
Like, I thought they stung you once.
No,
Well, that's
regular bees.
all honeybees will sting you once. But, like, I
Okay.
don't think bumblebees even sting. They're, like, super gentle and nice. I mean, maybe they will, like, if you, like, corner them and, like, beat them up. But they're not going to come land on you and sting you.
Like a wasp or a hornet.
A bee won't do that either. Like, if a lot of people are afraid of bees, but once, like, someone is like, a bee won't sting you unless you piss it off. So if you just stay still, the bee will be like, what's this colorful thing? It's not a flower, and it will leave you alone. But if you start going like this, you'll scare it.
That's been my strategy. But, like, people who are afraid of bees, I think, have a very hard time with that. Cause, like, Graham's scared of stinging, biting insects, and it's like, oh, just don't be afraid of them. It's like, yeah, I'll get right on that.
Well, I mean, okay, it's not, but it's the same thing. It's like, it's don't not be afraid of them. Just like be scared, but be still, because it'll probably pass you by faster if you just let it realize that you're not what it's looking for. Wasps will pester you though, and that's a different story. But I'm talking about bees.
We want. I'd
Cup
like
tower?
a slightly larger fridge.
You know what I'd like is like one more office with just workstations for people to go at.
Ooh, you mean like just plain desks?
Plain desks, like what the 2 editing offices we have, but one more of those. That would be like clutch.
Jacuzzi.
All right, lack of jacuzzi. Hey, Alex, I love Purifier. I'd like to ask if each of you could get a concept made into a high-budget game, movie, or show, what do you think would be your first choice? But first, what's Purifier?
Purifier is my webcomic. It is alternate history, 1930s London plague epidemic. You can read it on purifiercomic.com. It's also on Webtoons, but that's like a longer thing. I like it. It's my latest comic project. I'm working very hard on it. All traditionally inked, which is like pretty cool. So I like it, and hopefully you will as well. I also have a hot answer for this question.
All right, what's your hot answer?
I'm gonna get Hidetaka Miyazaki and Tsutomu Nihei to make a Blame Souls game, which is probably gonna make sense to about 5 people.
I mean, it made sense to Serge. Serge's mind is blown.
Eh?
You're fighting the city?
It's just like I want any kind of game where you okay, so luckily Blame is on Netflix, the anime adaptation of the comic, which I'm talking about. It's the short version is like there's a giant city as big as the planet, and lots of weird shit happens in it. But like the scale of it is so enormous.
It's a person, you have a shot, there's a person like the size of your fingernail exploring a frame this big, and it's like walking by a giant gully of this city that just built out of control, and no one is there.
I want to play a game that's on that kind of scale where you're just like a mote of dust in the galaxy.
That's kind of what Shadow of the Colossus felt like sometimes too. You're exploring nothing, these massive, beautiful landscapes, and then you have this tremendous encounter, and you're like, whoa!
So imagine that, but all indoor spaces. Just that freaking big. That would be super cool. So,
I've always wanted and this is weird because I've never been a huge fan of the franchise, but a Pokemon MMO.
That seems like a no-brainer.
But it's not out there, just a world, and it's weird because I've started playing World of Warcraft Retail, which has a Pokemon minigame. So I'm going to get ahead of that. I'm going to get ahead of the comments there. But just an idea of, what is an actual civilization built on everything in the world is something you can tame, including your food and your transportation, and you get around, and it's just like this huge, huge, huge space, and it's also an MMO. Without
being too cheeky about it, the grindy nature of Pokemon gameplay, I think, would lend itself well to an MMO.
Yeah. So,
if I could make anything into a game or a movie or a thing, I would make one of my own dang ideas.
Ooh.
I got that power. Why? I don't know.
That's the smart answer.
Would I make a TV show? I would not make a movie.
Full-length
not my
hustle
medium.
movie.
Nah.
90 minutes.
Give me a children's cartoon. Give me a cartoon. I think I would just kill writing a cartoon for like 9 to 12-year-olds.
Yep.
That is my dream. I don't know.
I'd probably watch that.
I would honestly. It would be. It would be excellent.
It would be full of like very lightly veiled adult humor.
Yeah.
That just
the references
sails over the head.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be like parallel tracks of humor. I think it would be gradations of humor. right? Is what you want to do. Where it's like the same joke lands in different ways depending how your understanding of it is, right? So it's like sort of funny and goofy on the surface, and like that carries itself with like the animation and the jokes and the physical expression of the characters. But you know, if you have a deeper understanding of, say, politics or world history, it's like, oh my God, lol.
Fingerprints.
Yeah. So anyhow, that's my dream. What's our next question, Paul? Do crap shots have continuity now? Sometimes, if they need it.
Yep. I think, yeah. If it's necessary, it's not like there's a big toggle. We're just like, engage continuity. Retroactive canon has been established.
There is one universe, and they all exist beside each other. Beej is simultaneously.
Don't get me started on like
the beej drops.
Well, no, don't get me started on the concept of canon and how like completely plastic and non-existent it is.
We don't need to have continuity, or when we do need to have it, we do. It's very Machiavellian. We'll have it when we need it, unless we don't, in which case we won't.
That's not Machiavellian. That's just practical.
Honestly, that's all Machiavelli was.
Yeah, I know.
Do the right thing. Did it work? You did the right thing. Did it not work? Well, too bad you didn't do the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, but no one's perfect, right? Try again next time.
It's not great advice.
He was very practical, pragmatic. Machiavellian, people get like the idea that Machiavellian means scheming. It just means, I don't know, what works for you right now. Do that.
Yeah.
The Prince is a good book. It's 80 pages. I recommend you read it. It's just full of common sense.
All right.
That's where the whole phrase, it's better to be feared than loved, comes from. And you're like, unless it isn't, which is funny because,
All right.
Can you tell the people of poli-sci degrees?
I was going to say, like, is it another one of those things where, like, if you read the whole phrase, it's actually the opposite, like blood is thicker than water, which means the opposite of what people think it means. Did you know about this one? Yeah.
No. You're gonna have to
I think I'm familiar. Explain it,
please.
Oh God.
I don't know what the full phrase is.
No, that's it. But it's well, the full phrase is like, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb.
This is a
Bible
Bible
wow.
thing?
Yeah. So
That's
the way
literally
people
the
use it is like, oh, family is more important than connections, and it's like, no, it's the other way around.
Huh.
So,
interesting.
Anyway.
And all the time when like brotherhoods would be forged with a blood bond, but women, their water breaks when they give birth. Was probably where that came from.
Maybe.
Next question. Oh, this is also a good question. How do you keep from getting burned out? How do y'all avoid the feeling of always having to be on? I'm a budding comedian and I find myself always having to play up myself when I go out to continue growing my base. Says Future Kayla. I mean, burnout's a very real question.
Super real, especially in this industry.
Yeah.
And I think
it's so tricky and so insidious, and especially, I mean, I find it particularly challenging because like I have anxiety problems, and sometimes I end up jumping at shadows where I'm just like, am I working myself too hard or not hard enough? How can I tell? Am I lying to myself? Why
being self-employed is an industry where you're like, I have a day off. Oh, that means I should do more work.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, then you sometimes have those awful days where you're just like, I forgot how to have fun.
All right, we've talked about the bad stuff. Now, how do we combat this?
I think like being aware of it as a threat, I think is at least a place to start. What I tried to do at one point was because I was like that crap shot that Graham was in. Like I started
last thing I love. Or whatever.
The only thing I haven't monetized.
It's the last thing that I love that I haven't monetized yet. Because, I was monetizing a lot of my hobbies, and that works. But I think it's really important that you hold back one or two on purpose with the intent to keep them to yourself. And what I did with those is that I was just like, this is for me. I'm not going to monetize it in any way, which means I'm not going to share it on social media. I'm not going to like talk about it when I'm working. It's just going to be a thing that I enjoy. And here's the other thing about that is that you can cycle what that is. So if you can spend a long time, working on it and enjoying it, and then be like, oh, maybe I will monetize this, and then this thing that I was formerly monetizing is going to be my thing that I keep to myself and don't make a big deal about. But I think just having a personal pleasure that exists solely for yourself is important.
I think, I mean, I agree with everything you're saying, but I think we have to acknowledge the tremendous amount of privilege that we have right now, in that we've made it. And honestly, we are at the point right now that as content creators, we can do this as a living. And I think burnout at this stage is very different from burnout for somebody who's trying to get there. And especially if it's early on and you're trying to get there. And this is something they don't talk about. They're like, just stream all the time. Just go. Not everybody's in the same position where they can afford to not work and do content creation on the side. And there's two different kinds of burnout, right? There's the, oh my God, I want to make my dream work. And the unfortunate thing is you have to have an honest conversation with yourself of, can I afford to do this? Is this actually feasible? Am I going to work myself to death in order to make enough at this to actually make a living?
I don't think you should work yourself to death over anything.
No, exactly. And that's the thing. And unfortunately, when so many people say chase your dreams, it's hard. It's so hard. And that's the balance you have to ask yourself of, how do I avoid burnout when I'm pushing so hard to make this happen? And when you're in a position where you're like, okay, I've kind of made this happen, when can I pump the brakes?
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's the thing that we have, and where we struggled so hard to a certain point, and you're like, can I take a step back and look at my situation and be like, can I feed myself if I take a week off? Oh my God, I can. and having to untrain yourself to always work and always be on, and realizing like, no, we can. It's okay. It's not going to fall apart now.
Yeah. I mean, for the early years of LRR, it was very much like that. It was like everybody had their full-time jobs, and everybody would work on the weekends and like evenings and stuff like that to make it go. And it took like 7 years of that to get one person hired.
Yeah.
And then as more people came on, the idea was, okay, we have to keep going, we have to keep growing, we have to get bigger, we have to do more stuff, so we have to work and work and work to get this out to more people, right? So it was like, okay, we've started to get like Serge said, you start to get the ball rolling, but if you stop, then you lose your momentum. So you have to keep pushing on that hamster wheel, right?
Momentum is so devastating in this industry, which is
especially streaming. Holy moly!
Twitch. If you're not on all the time, like Twitch viewership goes like this: builds, gone. Builds, and the longer you step away, the harder it is to keep that momentum going, and that reinforces this notion that you always have to be on. And then, where do you find time for self-care? Where do you take the preventative steps for burnout?
Where do you find time for self-care? This is going to sound so fucking glib, but it's like you have to make it.
Yeah.
And I think if we were to give them, somebody who's trying to get there in the first place, any advice from our past experience, it's like, start making that time earlier rather than later, when it's like don't like set fire to yourself on your journey to the top, because there might be nothing left of you by the time you get there.
You're a charred corpse.
Yeah, and you could end up hating the thing you're working on.
I want to add to that too. I think tangentially related, you need to make sure that you're working on a project that you agree with, and you can tell. Don't force yourself to do things to chase viewers that isn't authentic to yourself, because the more it feels like work, the harder it's going to be on you. And you want to find something that comes organically, because then the toll it takes on you is less.
Yeah, actually, to speak to that, can I get the question back up again, Paul? About, because the person they said that they feel like they always have to be on even when they're going out, and I don't think that is a very healthy thing to do. Yeah, I find myself always having to play myself up when I go out to continue growing my base. I think obviously, like if you're going to a comedy festival, obviously you're going to be on, or a convention or something like that, you're going to be on. But I think if you're going out to brunch with your friends, I think you should be yourself. And because like Serge is right, like you have to, like this is like, To be on is to, to use the language of video games, is to cloak yourself in a persona that is like yourself but is not yourself. It is the self that it is your best self, your most confident self. And some people's personas are like more authentic than others
other
that
people
are
play
closer to the
character.
inside. And other people are just completely different. But I had a friend who did this, and he lost the boundary between his character and himself. And it was infuriating to be around him because it was like he had been body swapped with a less good version of himself.
Youch.
And we had to be like, please, can you dial up? We're your friends. You don't need to impress us. You don't need to be on with us. We've loved you for years. We will continue to just enjoy you. We don't need to see your persona that you are
dial it
doing when
back
you're
a bit.
performing.
So, for the love of God, break character from time to time. Don't be Dr. Disrespect.
Well, I mean, that's an extreme example
but
for a lot of reasons.
Of a person who's just like in character, right?
Yeah. I guess it's just like being yourself. It's just like take the costume off and just like have some kind of time and space where you can just like not be performing.
If you're streaming, play the games you want to play. Don't chase a game because you think you'll find more viewers there. You know. Wow, we spent a lot of time on that one.
That was a good question.
That was a very good question. Thank you.
That's our next question. What's your favorite type of cookie?
Hey, how do you feel about emotional whiplash?
Soft baked chocolate chip.
Ooh.
It's pretty simple. Also, if you get some macadamia nuts in there as well.
Yeah, white chocolate macadamia nut. I used to really like really rich fudge chocolate ones, but that's the type of cookie that you have a bite or two and then you're like, well, I guess I can't finish this.
They make the insides of my cheeks hurt now if it's too rich and chocolatey.
Oh yeah, you get the like prickle.
Yeah, and
Well,
it's too much sugar, I think.
Do you want a cookie that you can eat an entire box of, or do you want a cookie that you can have one really good cookie? Because there's cookies that you can have multiple ones of, and that's the joy, like mini donuts, right? Or do you get one very rich one, you're like, that was a good experience, and then you put it away.
I was going to say, it's like, I know I don't have the best eating habits, but I don't destroy a box of cookies.
Oh, you should hang out with Joe.
Like 6, right? You just eat like way too many.
Yeah, but there are things that you enjoy eating a lot of. For example, rice. You know, you're like, I just want to just consume.
With furikake on top.
Sure.
And an egg.
Or there's things you enjoy a little bit of, you know, like a very rich small cut of meat or something like that.
I feel like there's been a couple of homemade cookies over the years that have just been like, oh my God.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to say first answer for mine. It's got to be homemade. Homemade, way better than store-bought.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like the store-bought cookies, they have to be shelf stable. So like they're always going to lose something in doing that. Like you might have an okay experience with like a bakery or something where they're like, we're using professional equipment and like
but it's all like butter and
ingredients.
stuff like that.
Baked fresh every morning.
Like a bakery cookie, I say. A bakery cookie or a homemade cookie, but not like, there is the appeal to the box of Viva Puffs, which are like the marshmallow chocolate
get
biscuit
those.
things.
No Chunks Ahoy or Oreos for you two?
No, Chunks Ahoy are so gross. They're like the simulacrum of chocolate chip cookies.
All right.
Sometimes you're just like, maybe that's the one that you eat the whole box of. That's like when, you know, your
they're inherently
dog died or
unsatisfying.
something. You're just like, you sit there in
Like
front
dip
of
it in
Netflix.
Nutella.
Oh my God.
I feel like I honestly, any good bakery or homemade cookie, but if I had to choose, if I had to go, like just a good chocolate chunk is very strong, but I think what I actually what kind of monster have I become? Because I'm honestly considering some sort of very
Don't you
spicy
say
oatmeal
and
raisin.
No!
Raisins are so rich.
I saw where you're going. I was like, don't do it. Don't do it.
It's more for you.
Friends off.
All right.
With Serge and Kathleen,
Last
I
question.
guess.
Peanut butter cookie, yay or nay?
Yeah.
Yay,
Nice,
peanut
okay.
butter
It's been a
cookie.
while since I had a good one. Is it cheating if I say creme brulee tart? That's not a cookie.
That's not a
is it?
cookie. That's a tart.
Yeah, a tart is its own thing.
Yeah.
Well, I like them anyway.
Yeah.
That's fair. They're delicious.
Any good like baked any baked good is good. I think is what we're down to with real butter and sugar, brown sugar, spices, cloves. Put cloves in your cookies. Oh, okay. I have opinions. What's our next question? When I was younger, I really enjoyed Magic the Gathering for the amazing artwork. Wondering what are each of your favorite or most memorable card arts?
There's so many to pick from, but the snap answer I made was Berserk.
Oh.
Because
OG Berserk?
yes,
Nice.
the original Berserk, because it's a guy who looks like he's just figured out the concept of dual wielding, and it is the last thing he will
got
ever
two
do.
battle axes,
he's like,
right?
if I use two, and he's like foaming at the mouth, and there's this like purple haze background. It's like all like red and swirly,
Sure.
and he's just like, oh my god. It's very, very good for the card.
I can't choose. I would need
There's
like
so many.
days to
Yeah.
weigh in.
Hedron Crab.
Yeah,
Honestly, I love the card. I love my little crab friend. Do you know it doesn't have defender? If you give it a sword, it can attack. Yeah,
He's the best friend.
The shades of color in it. There's pinks and purples, and it's holding on to its little hedron.
trying to figure it out.
It's got a lot of personality.
Yeah, it does.
I like Magic cards with personality.
Those are really
too.
great. Like, even though I don't play the card, Enthralling Victor was really great. Because it's like this
remember that
sexy,
one.
barely clothed man. There's this goblin in the background. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
He's like, dang.
Yeah. Any card art with good personality. Oko is really good.
Oh,
Oko,
stupid sexy Oko.
You feel what Oko feels by looking at that card. Like it tells you exactly what kind of person he is.
Okay, Serge, I've got
He's
one for you.
languid.
Siege Gang Commander, the original one. Okay, so there's a big goblin
Yeah.
with a catapult on his back, and there's 3 other goblins. And the one in the foreground has like binoculars or something. He's like, yeah, And the one in the middle ground is like, hey, wait a second. And the one in the background is in the catapult, just being like, wait. And they all have these like spike helmets. It's like the slow realization
Yeah,
of what's
like,
going on.
Oh no.
Oh, I'm the ammunition.
Goblin cards are always really funny.
They're
and
very good.
What's your favorite piece of LRR content that you aren't in yourself?
So this is tough because I really enjoy watching a lot of our content, and I spend most of my mornings in the waking up process with like coffee and breakfast and Joe, and we'll watch Checkpoint, we'll watch the highlights, we'll watch Road Quest, we'll watch all the panelists if I'm in it or not. I just really enjoy our content. Now, mostly the YouTube stuff. I don't watch a lot of our Twitch streams, and not for anything personal, just for whatever reason that doesn't really connect in my brain. So I guess I really enjoy our YouTube content.
Yeah, that is a tough question to answer because, like, yeah, I don't consume a lot of our content either, but what I do consume sometimes, like, it is stuff that I'm in sometimes to just like check my performance.
Yeah,
and just
I'm
be like,
very used to
what
that.
could I do better?
Yeah.
That having been said, highlights are always a gas, especially if it's stuff that I haven't seen, or just like, he.
It's a hard question for me because what piece of LRR content that you aren't in is somebody who does a lot of behind the scenes work. My fingers touch many things, even if I am not on screen, right?
Yeah, like if I'm not in it,
Oh yeah,
I
that
wrote
would
it.
be really hard for
Yeah.
you to answer.
If I didn't write it, I edited it. If I didn't write and edit it, I'm in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You did voiceover for it.
Yeah.
All the streams I'm not on.
Perfect.
All right.
Nice. Nailed it.
All at the same time.
And
Multi-Twitch.
I think, it's related. What is your favorite Loading Ready Run character not played by you? This is easy. Dave Spokesman.
Oh,
Oh,
Dave Spokesman is
come
so
on,
old.
you
That's my
can't-
answer now.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, well, thanks. You just
I really like Beach Drop. I really like. It's not. I don't know if it's a character, or if that's just like a phenomenon of nature that hits you.
I like to think it's like a Sliders.
yeah.
Sure, but yeah, Dave Spokesman is so good.
I think a lot of the characters that you play on Quirpline, Kathleen, are very good because like
Lorna Schnitzwitzel in particular.
well, they're all good. Like Lorna's good, and Edith is good,
The
and
Weefies.
then the Jam Crone is also good.
You know who I really like, who I think I like more than anybody else? Oh, we're taking the RV! I love the rich backstory of Sadie Casperson and her death metal loving daughter who goes to university and her hapless husband
who doesn't eat anything except hamburgers, apparently.
But they take their RV to all these. This is a character played by me. I love all the Corpline characters, though. I want to live in that town.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Really?
All right.
Oh, Richter Hammock Slam has got to be one of my favorites too. Actually,
he's-
like that and Derek.
Derek's so good.
Yeah.
I love how put upon Alex is. I just like how he's just like the A-train aldersman is just like, I just want to do a good job.
Do you know who my favorite character to have played was? Bertha Burpwinter. I had too much fun.
Which one was that?
She was the segment.
Spoilers.
Oh, yeah, spoilers. Yeah. She was the segment we kept trying to throw to over the years, and then she got busted for weed.
We did a reoccurring gag where where at the end of the segment it would end up being pushed for time, so that we wouldn't be going into local historian Bertha Burpwinter, who's going to talk to us about Innsbruck's historic cellars, because that sounds very dull.
For those of you punks who don't know, I played the role of Bertha Burpwinter, and you can step right off.
Yeah, and we finally got to it. This took like years to set up, by the way, which is what I love about Corpline, is we do very long builds on the jokes. And we finally got it set up, and Derek's just about to finally go and interview her, and the police come in and bust down like the cellar, and like there's this sirens, and it cuts, and that's the end of the episode. And then years later we pick it back up with the explosive trial of Bertha Burpwinter.
So silly.
Yeah, who was busted for growing comically large amounts of weed in Innsbruck's historic cellars.
Oh, Corpline's such a good show.
Yeah, go listen to it. Season 2 is almost finishing up. I'm very excited to start working on season 3.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and I think it's probably time for our last question.
Sounds good.
Speaking of things that are coming up, what are your Halloween plans?
Oh, from cat to cool. So I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I'm not much for celebrating any holidays. Like Joe and I just kind of chill, and we exist in a state of just always being happy. We don't do birthdays, we don't do holidays, we don't do
That's not a Debbie Downer, that's a Barney Boring.
Oh, okay. I don't want to be a Barney Boring. But that being said, I think one of the best Halloweens I've had in recent memory was I actually joined you and Penelope, and we went trick-or-treating. And I think there's just something very special about being with a toddler who's going up to somebody's house and being like, trick or treat.
Oh, you get to harvest their joy.
I think one of my favorite phrases was, I don't know if it was Grandma Kathleen or one of the people at the house is like, do you know how to trick or treat? And then instead of like saying something back, she just nodded. And you're like, all right, I have found the joy in this holiday.
Yep. Every year I mean to make a costume. I'm hoping that I will do that this year. I don't. It could just as easily like slip my mind.
I have an idea for a rad costume that I think is lazy enough for me to pull off.
Oh, yeah?
For once, because I always have these plans that I want to dress up for Halloween, but I never do because it's so much work and I'm busy. Yeah. And I'm also dressing up a small human for Halloween. That's double the work. But Aldous Harding, who's a really good singer-songwriter from New Zealand, put out a video that's absolutely bizarre. I have to show it to you. All her music videos are bizarre. They're a different form of art entirely. And it's called Zoo Eyes. It's a great song.
Weird.
It's weird as heck. But one of the things she does is she's all in black, and her face is painted white, but she's got like a weird like zigzaggy like all black eye makeup around her lips, and she looks like a dazzle camouflage wraith. And I'm like, that is
cool.
Weird as hell. It looks like a weird Halloween costume. And indie music fans might get it.
Yeah, a person would be like, whoa, you'd be like, yeah.
Yeah, one person will be like, oh my god, what a costume.
Yeah, that's like wearing a metal t-shirt, right? It's completely illegible unless you know it's a secret code.
God, you could always do one of those costumes that's like a portal of like a player frame. And there's been a lot of really good ones for that. The one that I love the most was a YouTuber apology video.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason it was so funny is like it's a frame with like the title and the player and like comments. The reason it worked was because it was monetized and there was like 50 ad breaks on it. I was just like
That's really
flawless.
Oh, that's so funny.
So
So our plans are to watch Penelope dress up and ask for candy.
Yeah. And I have friends who love Halloween, and no disrespect there. Ash, Ben, these people, like I have a different costume for every day in October, and on Halloween I have 3 costume changes scheduled.
wow.
Power to you. That's awesome.
Yeah, enjoy your time.
Yeah.
I am too tired for that.
I wish I had your energy.
Yeah.
Well, we're sort of moving towards our best costume, a skeleton.
It was inside us all along. I think that about wraps it up for this month's edition, this month's very spooky edition of askLRR. Thank you so much for joining me. As a reminder, this podcast and everything we do is brought to you by you, thanks to your kind and generous support through our Patreon at patreon.com. And this podcast, very specifically, is brought to you by people who supporting us on YouTube by becoming YouTube members. You get to give us money on YouTube if that's a thing you would like to do. We'd really appreciate it. And your perk is that you can ask us questions for askLRR. We may not choose your question because we only have time to answer so many, but
We appreciate you.
we do appreciate it. We appreciate you much more than we appreciate wearing Halloween costumes, I think is what we've arrived at. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next month with a new cast of characters. Bye, all.
Bye.